Today is Saturday, the 15th of August. This is Transition Protocol. As promised, we come only when there is breaking news of great significance that we believe we owe to our global audiences. And that is the reason why we are here. Otherwise, we have our regular days, which is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But something of spectacular nature has happened. And to bring it to you in a manner that is as clear as possible without any additional layer of spin on it, no varnish, is my dear friend and colleague Pepe Escobar. I will turn over the mic to him in a second. If you like what we are doing, kindly support us by becoming a subscriber, becoming a paid subscriber. Go to Substack, same name, and that will help us do what we do, which is to bring you the news as the world changes around us. So go ahead, Pepe.
Thank you, Mr. Z. Thanks, everybody, everywhere. It's Saturday. Of course, most of you are not exactly in sync with what goes on in West Asia. You're doing much more important personal stuff. Okay, I agree with all of you. But yes, we do have something quite extraordinary because it comes from, once again, from the room, from inside the room, from the previously shattered negotiating table, from the decision making environment of the Pakistani mediators in deep contact with the Iranians, and also from the office of leader Moshtaba Khamenei. So, this information is Iranian Pakistani between both with other insights from other players as well, but at the highest level because it's all about how the whole chessboard is being changed in real time. And of course, everything lightning fast. So I broke down the key points to make it as palatable as possible to all of you. So we go uh, key point by key point without getting into too much interpretation or digressions. So we can lay down firmly to you the key in fact, the key conversations and the key negotiations that happen before we are in the middle of the weekend, essentially between Friday and Saturday, early Friday to early Saturday. Well, the first thing is you remember that not long ago, MBS from Saudi Arabia made a call to President Trump, and this particular call was instrumental in instilling some sense into Trump so he would not launch his so called, and this is his own terminology, gates of hell offensive against Iran. Because MBS explained, well, not very complicated. MBS is a very straightforward guy. His English is not exactly brilliant, but he goes straight to the point, at least, to explain to Trump, whose English, by the way, is not also exactly brilliant, in plain terms, what everybody would lose if this Gates of Hell offensive was launched. But what happened a day and a half ago, what day ago, in fact, day and a half ago, was another phone call, personal phone call from MBS to Trump. And once again, this was trying to instill some sense into any preparations that Trump would be entertaining for a possible revamped attack against Iran. So MBS basic, and this comes from our on the table and on the phone line sources. MBS placed very firm limits on any sort of possible American action, if there's going to be any American military action in the very near future. Anything involving Saudi territory, Saudi airspace, and Saudi infrastructure. Basically, a series of no's. Like, you cannot use our bases, you cannot use our territory, you cannot go over us if you want to strike Iran. We are involved in a process which, from our point of view, is trying to find some sort of accommodation with Iran. And if you do that, like it was discussed previous to the non-launched gates of hell, it's going to be gates of hell for everyone, including you, the United States. So what happened after that was quite curious, in fact. Guess who visited Riyadh today? The former head of CENTCOM, General Michael Kurilla. He was the head of CENTCOM until a year ago, until August last year, when he was replaced by King. And very, very interesting. Why the hell the Americans would send a former CENTCOM commander to talk to MBS? Obviously, to try to convince MBS of further CENTCOM moves again, no matter what happened during the phone call. Once again, no leaks whatsoever about what Kurilla told MBS. But the fact that this visit took place is already opening our collective eyes. They are up to, CENTCOM is up to something, and it could be very, very nefarious. But we still don't know. We can tell for sure that Kurilla was not discussing the Mecca Pact with the MBS. That's one thing. So he had to be discussing how and what kind of Saudi contribution, territory, airspace, bases, etc., they could possibly give to the US in case of a military attack. And once again, because this is the House of Sound and everything is opaque, we had no idea what MBS actually told General Kurilla. But this was not exactly a pleasant conversation, the least we can say. Why? What's happening side by side with these Saudi moves? The UAE is trying to move to repair its heavily damaged relationship with Iran. Follow the money, and follow the money traveling on the Emirati One airplane. This means MBZ's jet. MBZ's jet, full with at least $3 billion in cash, which is not much, could be much more, but very, very important. 2 tons of gold. Did the very, very short flight from Abu Dhabi to Tehran. And this, let's say, this is a gesture of goodwill. So maybe the leadership in Tehran now, with number one man directly responding to uh, leader Moshtaba Khamenei, his personal representative, and on top of it, secretary of the Supreme National Security Council. Look, whatever happens from now on, let's bury the hatchet. We need to insulate our territory if there's going to be any attack. Let's reopen our commercial channels. You know that the Dubai Tehran shuttle is one of the favorite businessman shuttles on the planet. You have a lot of money here invested in the Emirates, so let's go back together. And very, very important part of the message. We have nothing to do with whatever the Americans will try to do in terms of escalation against you, Iran. So we need to establish a new basis of coexistence with you, Tehran. If the Iranians are buying this, that's another story. And we won't hear that from the highest levels of the Iranian government if they are convinced that the UAE is going to atone for their sins, let's put it this way, or not. But the facts are unmistakable. And this is confirmed by our sources that MBZ is scared to death. He finally understood that his bet on US, Israel, and India backfired big, big time. So this means, among other things, that the IMEC connectivity corridor is like the MOU. It's another dead cat. And this one probably will never resuscitate. Once again, many of you will know that the IMEC is billed as the India Middle East corridor. Nonsense. This is the Israel, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Europe, India corridor with Israel at the center. And for that, there's lots of infrastructure to be built, especially in the Emirates. And this is the Zionist Emirates connection. And this is why the Arab street, a little bit everywhere, qualifies the UAE as the Arab Zionists. So it's possible that MBZ is having a road to Damascus moment and finally understand that his bet went downhill big, big time. This is long term. The facts are essential. The UAE, much earlier than anybody would expect, is now trying to mend their fences with Iran. And this is something quite reminds me something that one of our sources here at Transition Protocol said about 2 months ago. He was saying, just wait. Sooner or later, the UAE is coming to the table. And they were thinking that this could happen by the end of the year. Apparently, it's happening as we speak, mid-August. So this is again a total game changer, much earlier than anybody in West Asia and outside would expect. Okay, now let's go to the China-Pakistan angle, which is absolutely crucial. Uh, the people who are informing us in detail about all these shenanigans in the background, all these back channels, all that is hidden by the fog of no war, no peace, which is what we have at the moment. Their interpretation is that Pakistan now is totally consolidated as the key negotiating center. Well, first of all, because there's nobody else. Can you imagine Qatar or Oman being the central negotiating center? No. Pakistan has the credibility and, of course, the military power in the background, plus the full support of China to be a credible negotiating center. There's no question about that. The thing is how they're going to negotiate and who they are negotiating with. They know everything on the Iran, Oman, Qatar side. But on the other side is total unpredictability. The Americans themselves, they don't even know what they are negotiating and with whom. It's an absolute mess typical of the Trump administration. For instance, nobody can name the names of the current American negotiators who are talking to the Pakistani mediators. There is an assumption that these are people linked to J.D. Vance's office, but that's not confirmed by any source anywhere, much less inside the US. So, China, once again, they have not changed their position. In fact, from the beginning, Pakistan and China coordinated on how to organize the mediation between Iran and the US. Uh, there are the national security imperatives for China and also the Pakistani national security imperatives. But overall, everybody wants some sort of agreement to work with the Americas, with the immense volatility of the Trump administration. Okay, so now interconnect these two points, Saudi Arabia and UAE, and then China and Pakistan, with what the Iranians are thinking of all these developments. They are I wouldn't say bet, but they are much against the will of many of the characters in positions of power in Iran. Now, okay, let's give it a few more days of chance for diplomacy to go. If you ask anybody from the RGC, they're going to say, look, whatever we do, the other side will never start to behave accordingly and with what they signed in the MOU. But anyway, let's give it a try. But there's a very, very tiny window of opportunity. It could be something between 2 or 3 days to a little over a week, but not more than that. The tiny window of opportunity for the Americans to change. I love this expression because it's the mother of all euphemisms. Correct their behavior. The Chinese would use this expression. The Iranians use this expression. Empires don't correct their behavior by definition. So it's going to be very hard to expect the empire to correct its behavior. But still, the window of opportunity is there. But what the key conclusion from all of the above, or all of what we have been talking about for the past few minutes, is that from the Iranian point of view and from the mediators themselves, everybody's starting to looking at a much, much broader, bigger picture, which is a negotiated settlement for West Asia as a whole. Okay, there's a lot of, once again, to go Chinese once again, auspicious thinking involved. But mediators and diplomats, they have to. Otherwise, you enter into the, the darkest pits of despair, and then diplomacy disappears completely, and there's only war. So this is a negotiation, essentially, and these are the first steps over the post-war West Asia order. And that's why this is so important. These are the baby steps leading to this possible negotiation. So, to try to advance the possibility of a negotiation, we're going to have a very large senior Iranian delegation led by Ghalibaf and Arakshi arriving in Islamabad. We can say, Mr. Z, if we say around a little over a week, would that be?
Could be sooner. Could be sooner.
Could be sooner, but let's say in the space of 1 week, a little over a week, with the
Yes.
possibility of maybe being by the end of next week. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
So, because this, let's say, this window of opportunity, which was offered by the top powers in Iran to the Pakistani mediators, is a few days only. It's not more than that. And from the Iranian point of view, and this means, and now we're talking about Mohsen Rezai, number 2 in Iran today, the second most powerful man in Iran today, right under leader Mojtaba Khamenei. And on top of it, he is Mojtaba Khamenei's personal representative. So he is the visible authority in Iran today. Mojtaba Khamenei is the invisible authority. So the Iranians will have time to determine side by side with their Pakistani colleagues if Washington is willing to correct its behavior. All of you cannot expect much, but at least they are being given a chance. They keep preserving the military option, the Iranians. Very, very important. They have their fingers on the trigger, and this has not changed these past few weeks. So this is something that will be very hard to confirm directly from Iran. But according to the Pakistani mediators and the direct Pakistan channel with the office of leader Mojtaba Khamenei, the interpretation is that Mohsen Rezai, of course, talking with the leader and being given instructions directly by the leader, okay, tentatively, okay, they accepted this approach. Okay, let's give it a few days, right? And then we see what happens. They already know that from the American side, there will be most likely a zero to less than zero movement. It doesn't matter because not only for West Asia, but for the whole global south, this means that Iran is still involved in diplomacy, heavily involved in diplomacy. So this is not an open ended mandate. This doesn't mean that Kalibaf and Arakshi can keep talking and back talking for months. No, it's only a few days, right? Because this diplomatic clock is flowing parallel to the military clock. If the Americans try anything foolish, the military clock, run by run, restarts immediately. So, behind all that, there are lots of questions. I selected a few questions that will be popping up between the Iranians, the Pakistanis, the Omanis, the Qataris, the Turks, eventually the Saudis, maybe not to the Americans, but perhaps to some Americans with an IQ over room temperature. When will the Strait of Hormuz reopen? Nobody knows. It depends on how it evolves in the next few days. And then who is going to guarantee whatever arrangement there is? For the moment, the only thing we really know is that what the technicians, the officials, or technical officials from Iran and Oman are discussing about a temporary set up for navigation the Strait of Hormuz. This is practically a done deal. But this is a technical discussion between Iran and Oman. It's not the bigger Strait of Hormuz Persian Gulf discussion. So, who is going to guarantee anything? We can think that there's only one power capable of guaranteeing anything in such a volatile situation. That would be China. Are the Chinese interested in that kind of thing? No, definitely not. It's like they are subcontracting it to Pakistan. But can Pakistan guarantee anything involving the American government? Everybody knows that this is virtually impossible. So these questions after questions, right? Who is going to control the sequencing of fulfilling commitments? Everybody knows that the Americans, by definition, imperially, they break commitment after commitment. Once again, there's no. It will have to be a concert of powers to control the sequencing. We don't have that at the moment. Who is going to determine if Washington is complying with anything? Once again, it will have to be something like a Russia-China combo to do that. They don't want to get involved into it because this is the American war against Iran. So, what restrictions the Gulf states will impose on the U.S. on use of their territory? Part of the answer we already have with this second phone call by MBS to Trump. No, you don't have a free lunch anymore. You cannot use the bases in our nations, which, by the way, most of them are already destroyed, to launch attacks against Iran. What kind of security assurances Iran will receive? Once again, nobody can answer this question. And this is obviously factors into the Tehran's calculations. So the Americans can promise anything, and we know that they never deliver. Who is going to call their bluff? Very, very complicated. And once again, how deep is China willing to go behind Pakistan and coordinating with Pakistan to make these things work, assuming there's movement from both sides? We as foreign analysts and even Chinese media, this is the kind of stuff that you will never get an answer, even if you are in Beijing. This is a Chinese state secret, and they don't leak this kind of information. The only thing that we know for sure, if we follow carefully what they usually say via the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and what is published in Chinese official media, very, very cautious that they want a solution, that they are backing the mediation, they want the Strait of Hormuz open, but there are never any details on how to accomplish all that. And that's the last question before I hand it over to Mr. Z. What happens to the regional West Asia architecture if we have, can you imagine, altogether, Saudi Arabia, even the UAE, which nobody was expecting, Turkey, Pakistan, Qatar, and Oman? We're not talking about the other GCCs because they are small fry. They start to increasingly coordinate as they are already doing it, totally independent from Washington. This will mean that the empire does not control anything anymore in West Asia. And of course, I didn't even enter into the deepest pit of the darkest abyss, which is what the death cult Israel can do to unravel everything that we have been talking about. This is a much more explosive, complicated problem. Uh, Probably during this week in our transition protocols, we can start looking at it, the three of us. So, the breakdown, is it possible that we're going to have some movement in the next few days? Yes. Assuming the White House and the psycho killer in charge will provide a little bit of movement for Galibaf, Arakshi, etc., the big Iranian delegation to come to Pakistan, discuss, then they relay everything to the Pakistanis. The Pakistanis relay back to the Americans. So there is some sort of movement. And it will also depend on Moshe Rezai and as the supreme leader, allowing these few days until their patients, once again, they're going to see that nothing's coming out of it. And this is going to have to be done the hard way. So this would imply that Hormuz, once again, because from the beginning, even before the start of the war, the big factor, the big factor was always the Strait of Hormuz. We have to repeat over and over again. This is a war of for oil. This is a war for oil choke point. This is a war about an independent sovereign nation that moves energy bypassing the US dollar. This is a war to defend the petrodollar, and this is a war against existential threats to the United States, meaning Iran, Russia, and China. So, how can a sequenced kind of settlement disturb all these absolutely horrible facts? Well, at least once again, like we had with the not dead yet MOU cat, there is this tiny window of opportunity. And this was confirmed by this intel report we received before Saturday. And now it's in the open for all of you to make your own minds about that. Well, Mr. Z, over to
Well,
you.
that's a that's a brilliant analysis. Cuts to the heart of the problem, Pepe. And this is what I'm really proud of. And I'm deeply honored to be a part of this, to have the benefit of extraordinarily gifted analyst. I mean, you're extraordinarily well informed, but you're also gifted to take very complex issues and to present them to everybody who is our global audience all over the world in 14 languages now, in a manner in which they are able to understand what is going on and they can see this without an overlay of corporate varnish, which
And
destroys
spin.
the
Yeah,
truth.
no spin.
So I really appreciate it and I'm honored.
Thank.
So let me just give you my perspective. And
Sure.
I will add a couple of things that I discussed with you before we started, which I believe are significant, but because of the time, did not get into that. Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia, in furtherance of their Mecca Pact, have actually begun to take concrete steps, significant concrete steps. They have announced joint military exercises involving all three branches of the military, which is the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. And these exercises will be conducted very soon in all three countries. So this is the first step of military integration. The exercises are a first step of military integration, which is really significant. If there is going to be an involvement that invokes the military of all three countries, they have to be integrated. And this is the first step in that. So those people who did not take this pact seriously or thought that, well, this is just window dressing, blah, 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 nothing is going to come out of it. No, no, no. Our reporting says that they are deeply committed to integrating their joint defenses so that if the Delta cult continues to have these wet dreams of attacking any one of them, they're not going to get very far. So that is an important part of the news. The other important part of the news, which comes from these activities to us and from us to you and to the rest of our audience, is that the message to Trump from Saudi Arabia, the second phone call, very, very significant. This is our problem. We are going to solve it. We are solving it. Get the hell out of here. We don't need you to meddle. Very clearly. So it was mentioned by Saudi Arabia in the direct phone call. He's very direct when he talks and when he's made up his mind. But it was backed up by the Pakistani negotiators to the people with whom they are speaking, and this is either directly with JD Vance sometimes or with his office that we don't want you here. Time has come for you to get out. Now, as you and I know, we are dealing with a malignant toddler. That is my definition of Trump. I mean, many, many definitions, but I think this suits him very well because he's a toddler. He thinks like a toddler, but he's malignant. Toddlers are usually very nice and very cute. That this guy is malignant. So who knows what he's going to do? But uh, another piece of news that I want to emphasize, we actually discussed it on our channel. Iran has a swarm capability of 2,000 fast boats equipped with torpedoes,
Mhm.
2,000 of them. This is in addition to their midget navy. This is in addition to their underground, uh, 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 subterranean capability of attacking anybody who tries to breach the Strait of Hormuz. And in fact, the word that I'm privy to announce to you from Mohsen Rizai is that he actually wishes that the United States will make an attempt to breach the Strait of Hormuz,
Yes,
because
this
then
is
that will
already
be
it's already circulating in Iranian media.
yeah, he would love that because
Yes,
then that will give him the ability to sink a warship or two, and he would be fully justified, and that will be the final nail in the coffin of the malignant toddlers, wet dreams, or delusional ideas. So the next few days, I'm not even saying few weeks, the next few days are extraordinarily important because if the final outcome of that is that uh, Trump and the American empire come to the right decision to, to get the hell out of the region, that will be the beginning of the end of the American hegemony in the world, not just in that area. That will mean the first step towards the destruction of the petrodollar. And when the petrodollar is destroyed, the ability of the United States to simply print money and to finance its debt is going to be over. So we are witnessing an extraordinary, extraordinary change in global politics, tectonic shifts. The next 5, 10 years are going to be very different than the past 75 years. And we'll be here to report it to you. We'll be here to bring you news from where the news is made without a corporate overload deleting half of it and misconstruing the balance of that so that you get nothing but gobbledygook. That is not going to happen with our channel. We like your support. We encourage you to be more active. Give us comments. We will respond to them. But kindly subscribe, hit the like button, and become a paid member that allows us to continue with our mission, and we will deliver all this news twice a week to you. So Pepe,
excellent.
final call,
Thanks.
final
No, no,
message to
no.
you, sir.
Thanks for the wrap up. There are many other questions, Mr. Z, but I prefer to leave them for our three back-to-back shows, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Until then, thanks everybody. See you
Th-
early this week.
th- Thank you very much. And we will bring you everything that happens between now and Monday, which is not too long a distances of time, but things are happening as we speak. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you, and Pepe appreciates all of you, and our whole team
Thank you.
does. So
Cheers.
bye bye.